all-team violence member Terrence McKinney coming in at -170, fighting a hometown fight here, going up against Kyle Nelson, who comes in at +145. Now, Terrence McKinney, maybe, I don't know if he's exactly from Seattle, but I know he's from Washington. So, home state fight, I should say, for McKinney. He's looking to bounce back from a submission loss that he suffered at the hands of Chris Duncan. That was a fight where we saw a classic McKinney style. Every single time we see McKinney touch foot or step foot in the octagon, this guy fights the exact same way every single time. He throws big strikes. He tries to find the knockout pretty quickly. If he sees the opening for a takedown, he'll go for the takedown. He'll smash through the guard, get to a dominant position, get to the back of his opponent, and find a rear naked choke. That is unless, of course, he knocks his opponent out quickly on the feet. But we've seen now that if you can withstand that early barrage, there are going to be opportunities for you to counter McKinney and just take advantage of his very poor ability to manage his gas tank. We saw in the Duncan fight, Duncan was able to eat all the big shots from McKinney, get back to his feet after a takedown, and then as soon as Duncan landed a clean elbow, it looked like McKinney was looking for the exit. Duncan followed up with a barrage of ground and pound to try to get the finish. It seemed every time the referee kind of called for McKinney to move, otherwise he was going to stop the fight. McKinney just did enough to move, but he wasn't getting out of danger anyway. That's when Duncan found the opportunity to lock in the anaconda choke and force the insta-tap from McKinney, who, again, I really believe was looking for the exit after getting hurt from that elbow. And that's kind of just McKinney's style. The guy knows he's not getting paid by the minute, so he tries to get the finish quickly, or knows that the chaos that he instilled right away, even if it leads to him losing, is enough to potentially still go out there and win a fight of the night bonus because of his style. I love seeing McKinney on the card because it's always guaranteed, at least since he's been in the UFC, that the under 1.5 will hit. Now, just listen to these numbers. He's gone 7-5 in the UFC through his 12 fights with the promotion. 21 of his 25 fights have finished in round 1. 24 of those 25 fights have finished under 1.5 rounds. All 12 of his UFC fights have finished under 1.5 rounds, with only 2 of them reaching the second round, yet still finishing under 1.5 rounds. Need I say more? Crazy explosivity, decent wrestling game, very aggressive for the finish, but looks for the exit if he can get it done within the first couple minutes. Now he's going up against Kyle Nelson, who is coming off of a decision victory. I believe that was back in October, where he was able to get the win over Matt Frevola. Now, that was a very weird fight where Nelson was seemingly losing the first round as Frevola was mixing up the game pretty well, until the dying seconds of round 1, when Nelson hurt Frevola very badly, followed up with a big ground and pound. And once the round came to a close, there seemed to be a little bit of confusion whether the referee had stepped in to stop the fight or the referee had stepped in to get to signify the ending of the round. So to see Nelson going from a state of celebrating and acknowledging that he won the fight, that he got the TKO, to realizing that the fight was still going on, I'm sure there was a bit of an adrenaline dump for him there that he had to try to work back from in that second round. Because we saw Frevola have some success in that second round, so much so to the point that 2 judges actually scored that round in Frevola's favor. Luckily, Nelson was able to get things back on track in the third round, and he was able to win that fight by decision. And I gotta say, as a guy that's watched Nelson fight on the regional scene before he made it to the UFC, I'm very surprised that he's managed to hold on to a UFC roster spot as long as he has. It goes to show that he has improved his game, right? He's become more than just a headhunter from what he was earlier on in his career. He's tried to implement a grappling game that hasn't really worked out for him, but there was that stint where he had that 3-fight winning streak where he managed to find the perfect happy medium, right? Of the power striking, the grappling, the control, and mixing all those things together and getting those 3 wins. But to come up short against a guy like Steve Garcia, not a bad loss, especially when you consider the run that Steve Garcia is on. He's fighting on the White House card against Diego Lopez in a few months, and then being able to bounce back against Matt Frevola. That should give Nelson some solid confidence. I still think that he's like a fringe UFC guy. Like I believe pretty much everybody he's beaten is no longer in the UFC, or at least in this last 5 stretch. I don't know if Frevola still has a roster spot. Regardless, he goes up against Terrence McKinney here in a fight that is sure to be violence just because of McKinney's style. I think McKinney's power will end up being too much for Nelson here. I think we'll see McKinney land big shots immediately on Nelson. I think that will rock Nelson, and that will either lead to McKinney getting a club and sub or just a straight up knockout. But no matter what, I think this fight finishes under 1.5 rounds, whether it's Nelson landing the big shot after McKinney starts to slow down, or McKinney just starting strong and finishing strong right away. I'm going to go McKinney. I don't want to bet him at chalk just because I know what kind of style he has. And if Nelson's chin holds up, he has the finishing ability to show McKinney the door, just as Chris Duncan did. So McKinney, round 1, I'm going to say knockout, but the under 1.5 is definitely the spot, even at chalk, to consider on shooting here.